As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind...
Okay, today's video 11, my visit to that Pacific offshore island. The first letter here is a letter from Lewis Dick Solicitors that represented my family all those years ago. I'd like to point out I have no problem with Lewis Dick, so that's why you're seeing their name. So, just to explain, before I went to one of these offshore islands, I knew some historical information in my family. For example, some of the tricks the trustee uses to delay people, put you off, and cause trouble. So basically one of his tricks is to get an injunction out against you. Believe it or not, my trustee many years ago got an injunction out against my father for writing a nasty letter accusing him of being a fraudster, which obviously has turned out all these years to be correct. He actually asked for my father to put a public apology in the newspaper. Through these letters, you can see here they're trying to get my father to agree to the injunction against him, or until 3 years, or until the administration of the estate is completed. Note the date of the letter there was 1993. On the next page you'll see here just conditions that they were trying to impose on my father for writing this letter. So just more examples of the tricks of the trustee. Now on this page here you can see a letter to my family in relation to the injunction dragging on between my father and the trustee. He's the one that initiated the proceedings. My father has now decided that he'll defend himself and obviously get the injunction discharged. Now on the next page again it's just information about the injunction and what we did to get it overturned. On the next page here you can see as soon as basically we found out what the trustee was alleging, we went to that offshore island via advocates and had the injunction withdrawn. So moving on now to the next document. Again, this is just communication showing the tricks that the trustee does to stop people getting access to these certain advocates on these offshore islands. You can't really hire a UK advocate. You need someone in the offshore island unless you get something called a temporary advocate license, but that could be another video on that. So you can see here at the bottom it says clearly Mr. So-and-so feels it's necessary to save face. So the trustee decides to withdraw the injunction against my father when we said in court we would like discovery of documents. So, knowing all this before I went to the island, there's one last document here that it still explains some of the procedure we had to go through. So knowing the tricks of the trustee, before I went to the actual offshore island, I contacted the police myself and spoke to Controller 72, I believe, on the 3rd of February. And told him of my intentions to find my trustee, who I've never spoken to or met in my life, and ask for assistance for my elderly family. What happened is I managed to locate the individual's address through speaking to people on that offshore island. I went to his house, knocked on his door. It's one of the biggest houses in that offshore island, and there was no answer, so I walked around the property. Then left. I talked about this individual in lots of bars and restaurants, and for some reason he thinks that I've caused a huge alarm and distress to him. I don't know how you can do that when you've never even met the person. So as you can see here, these are the lawyers that represent the trustee still, who used to work for him, who are covering up the frauds. They said, unfortunately, despite what you say, your client did cause serious alarm and distress to partner and his 2 children, who were terrified by his actions in the offshore island. His activities were reported to the constabulary. Well, I certainly know that because I was followed everywhere I went on this Pacific offshore island. even followed back to Portugal and then back to Spain. So that'll be another video. But here you can see they're also trying every trick in the book to not even communicate with me. They're calling me a secondary heir who's not likely to inherit money from the estate while my parents are alive. The tricks they play are very, very evil. I could elaborate on this on a lot more, but I'll move on. So again, you just see here, it's where the trustee has asked me to now sign an undertaking to not go within 2 miles or 3 miles of his house. Obviously, I never signed that and said I will be back. On the next page, it's actually the email to myself asking me to stay away from his family home. Now, can I point out, I never met his wife or his partner or his children. I actually never met anyone on the island that offered me any help. Everyone tried to stop me. So the only person that actually did help was one individual that I met who pointed me in the direction of this individual's house. I didn't even have an address, and I had to walk there in the snow, and it was a very cold, windy day in February. But I managed to find his house, and it looks like he's going to have to confront what he's been up to over the last, 3 decades. So that's just a brief introduction to my visit on the islands and what my trustee's reaction is to me asking for help for my elderly parents. Thank you very much for listening. I'll be back soon. Bye-bye.